So first, help me to understand what this even means. What does Gates mean by dimming the sun's rays?
Okay, so the sunlight from the sun hits the earth, gets reflected back, and is absorbed by water vapor and carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. To stop or to slow down global warming, Bill Gates's idea is that we're going to put particles in the air which are going to reflect sunlight and therefore reduce the sunlight that hits the earth and reflects back. And the sort of general idea for this is that, in 1991, there was a volcano in the Philippines, Mount Pinatubo, and it exploded and sent 20 million tons of sulfur aerosols into the sky and lowered the Earth's temperature for about a year, 18 months by about a half degree. So Bill Gates wants to try to do this, and he's given money to Harvard University to work on this. And so I guess next year they're going to finally send a balloon about 12 miles into the atmosphere and drop about 5 pounds of chalk dust to start working on this. It's just so ridiculous. First off, as you mentioned in your opener there, this is really Bill Gates deciding what temperature we should live at. Right? Even if this was to work, I mean, keep in mind he's going to drop 5 pounds of chalk dust. Mount Pinatubo released 20 million tons of sulfur aerosols into the sky. So the whole thing is just ridiculous. It's not going to work. Global warming is not harming us anyway. The whole thing is just foolishness. It's unfortunate that this is the best thing Bill Gates could do with his money.
Are there any potential side effects that you could see? Any long-term damage that could happen, or do you think it's just going to blow up in everyone's face?
Well, well, I mean, certainly nothing is going to happen from his experimentation. But just the notion that you want to blot out the sun. I mean, if you blot out the sun, you're really sort of blotting out life on Earth. I mean, it's where, without the sun, there are no plants. Without the plants, there's nothing. So, and as I said earlier, we've had very little warming, and there's no reason to think that whatever future warming is going to be catastrophic. And he's just this really sort of pedestrian mentality person trying to solve a problem that probably doesn't exist. With there's no chance it's going to work, none.
And the thing is, at least when I look at it, the climate is something that is so complex and nuanced that when you have one man just kind of going out there going rogue and just shooting dust and chalk and whatnot into the atmosphere, that's quite concerning. And also when we look at Gates, he's behind the lockdowns, the vaccines, it just goes on and on and on. We're seeing a lot of rise in tyrannical behavior, I'd put it, especially during these COVID lockdowns. Would you agree?
Oh yeah, I mean, every state governor is now a tin pot dictator. And I mean, it has brought out the inner totalitarian in all these people. It's really disappointing. I'm hoping that as we go forward in elections, these people all get thrown out of office for their conduct during COVID. I mean, these mindless shutdowns have destroyed the economy, wrecked lives, wrecked careers, wrecked businesses. They're causing all sorts of mental stress on people. All we really need to do was, protect the people who are most vulnerable, and we haven't really done that either. So the whole thing's just been a disaster.
Whether it's COVID or climate, there's a deeper idea behind it all. And of course, a lot of that goes back to the Great Reset that we've talked about, a lot of these international groups that are trying to push, people such as Bill Gates. So when you look at Joe Biden, for example, if he does, scary enough, if he does get inaugurated next month, could you see him using any of his emergency powers to start enacting some of these intense restrictions?
Well, yeah, that's kind of worrisome. And some in Congress and the Greens are recommending that Biden use emergency powers, such as to shut down fossil fuel production or fossil fuel exports, mandate electric cars, send even more money to wind and solar rent seekers. Yeah, I mean, he could do quite a bit of damage. And as Congress has not been very effective recently. The courts not really very effective. If you have a committed leftist like Biden and the people that he's bringing into Washington, the possibilities are endless and scary.